Several years ago, I worked at Walmart as a part-time cashier while attending school. Typically, I worked on weekends or nights. On one particular Saturday, I worked from the afternoon until 10 p.m., which were my usual hours. It was a busy shift, and I had a lot of customers come through my lane. During that time, a man approached my lane and purchased a wireless speaker, which was one of our more expensive items priced over $100. Upon seeing the total, the man immediately complained that the item was on sale and should have been discounted by 50%. I checked the item and found that it was not on sale. In an effort to satisfy the man, I called my coworker David from the electronics department to confirm that the item was not on sale and had never been. Despite this, the man continued to complain and hold up my line for over 5 minutes. He even became rude and personal with me, calling me an idiot. I asked him to leave if he didn't want to buy the speaker since other customers were waiting. This only made him more upset, and he continued to curse at me. Eventually, he left, and I was relieved to see him go. Despite the negative experience, I was relieved to interact with more regular customers. However, my relief was short-lived when I noticed the same man from before with his signature hat, sunglasses, and red sweatshirt standing in my line with an angry expression. His presence made me uneasy, and I braced myself for his turn at my register. When he finally arrived, I realized that he wasn't there to purchase anything. He approached me and uttered menacingly, "You didn't think I'd come back here, did you?" I remained silent as he continued, warning me to watch my back before walking away. I was taken aback by the man's hostility, but I didn't respond and kept my composure. The remainder of my shift lasted another hour or so before I could finally go home and unwind after a tiring day. As I exited the store, which had now grown quiet, I headed towards the back corner of the parking lot where I always parked. As I approached my car, I suddenly heard a yell from about 30 feet to my left. Looking over, I saw the same guy who had confronted me earlier. He immediately began cursing at me and started walking towards me from behind a tree where his car was parked. I had no time to react before he began running towards me, so I started running towards my car. I could hear him running after me, which only made me go faster. Once I reached my car, I quickly locked the doors and started the engine. The man kicked the side of my car hard before I could back away, but I managed to escape before he could follow me. When I arrived home, I saw a dent on the side of my car where the man had kicked it. I was shocked by his aggression and the fact that he had waited for me to finish work. The next day, I went back to Walmart to report the incident and decided to quit my job. Fortunately, Walmart offered to pay for the repair of my car. 2 summers ago, I worked at Walmart just for the season. My usual tasks were stocking shelves and working late nights. Although I only worked about twice a week, it was an excellent opportunity to earn extra cash. However, the Walmart I worked at wasn't located in the best area, and we would occasionally have shoplifters and strange incidents happening throughout the store. This made me grateful to be stocking shelves late at night and not dealing with customers too much. One night, while I was working near the canned goods, I received a call on my walkie from someone who needed my help unloading a truck in the receiving area. This was something I occasionally did, so it wasn't anything new. I walked through the quiet aisles of the store to the back and into the back room. When I arrived, I saw that the truck wasn't a standard big semi-truck, but rather a smaller one. I had never seen this type of truck deliver anything to us before, but I proceeded to help unload it. As I was leaving Walmart, someone came out behind me holding a walkie-talkie. He thanked me for helping him, but I didn't recognize him as anyone who worked there. Given the large number of employees, I assumed he was new. He had a smile on his face, but it faded as soon as he saw the look of confusion on mine. I asked what he needed help with, and he walked towards the truck and unlocked the back. He told me to jump in and grab some merchandise from the back. That's when alarm bells started ringing in my head, Instead of getting closer, I stayed put. The man then started pushing me from behind, causing me to move forward a few steps. However, I refused to be pushed into the truck. As I looked inside, I saw that there was barely anything there. That's when I decided to run away. I managed to escape the man, who chased me, and made it back into the store. I ran as far as I could towards the front, where there were more people. The man turned and left the store, and I informed another employee about what had happened. Eventually, the police were called, but the men were long gone. However, several videos of them were found on surveillance footage. I'm not sure if they were ever caught, but I'm grateful that I was able to escape unharmed. Last summer, I went to Walmart early on a Saturday morning for my routine shopping. The store was relatively empty, which made it easier to move around with my cart, mainly filled with groceries. While in the frozen pizza aisle, I heard a noise behind me, but saw no one when I looked back. The same thing happened a few minutes later in another aisle. Though it was odd, I didn't think much of it and continued shopping. However, when I reached the back corner of the store to buy some dairy products, I heard a strange noise from above me. As I looked to my left, I noticed part of the ceiling lifted up, and a man's head appeared, staring at me. I was completely freaked out, as this was the last thing I expected. The man quickly retreated back into the ceiling, leaving me stunned. I immediately informed a store worker about the incident, but they didn't believe me at first. However, after explaining what happened, we went to the spot where I saw the lifted ceiling tile. Other workers joined us, and we found it to be slightly crooked. Many people asked me about what I had seen, and although some were skeptical, I know what I witnessed. Eventually, the employees went up into the ceiling to investigate, but they couldn't find the man. To this day, I have no idea who that man was or why he was in the ceiling. When I was between the ages of 17 and 21, I worked part-time at Walmart. I am currently 26 years old. For context, the Walmart was situated in a somewhat desolate area, only about 10 minutes from my home. Though it was not completely isolated, there were no nearby stores within a half-mile radius. The store was located near a highway, and at night, the surrounding area was particularly eerie. If one were to walk outside, only the parking lot and the highway would be visible. Whenever I finished my 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift, I would have to walk to my car in the dark. Though it was usually very quiet, I had some strange encounters with people in the past. However, one woman in particular stands out. I cannot recall the exact time, but it was likely around 8:30 p.m., towards the end of my shift. I had gone to the back of the store to use the restroom, and while finishing up in the stall, I heard someone enter the bathroom. Initially, I did not think much of the situation, but suddenly, I realized that the woman sharing the restroom with me was acting crazy. I heard her footsteps drawing nearer until she was right outside my stall. Since my door was shut, she must have known it was occupied, but all the other stalls were vacant. I had no idea what she was attempting to do, but I could hear her breathing heavily. I felt uneasy, so I spoke up and said, "Hey, someone's in here." However, she didn't respond. Within moments, she entered the stall beside mine and started making bizarre, almost demonic noises that made me incredibly uncomfortable. I was too afraid to leave my stall immediately, so I stayed put. Looking back, I wish I had just bolted out of there. What happened next was genuinely disturbing, so be warned. As I glanced at her feet, I noticed they were pointed towards my stall, indicating she was looking in my direction. I had no idea why. Suddenly, she dropped to her knees and peered under my stall door. She had a cold, disconnected expression, and then she grinned at me, revealing her large yellow teeth, some of which were missing. As soon as I realized what was happening, I screamed and demanded that the woman leave the restroom immediately. She then pulled out pepper spray and tried to spray it in my face. but thankfully, she missed my eyes. In self-defense, I kicked her in the head and fled from the scene. I was so frightened that I didn't even inform any store employees and just rushed to my car. I didn't bother calling the police either because I assumed she was gone by then, and I thought that kicking her was enough punishment. However, I was still scared that I would get into trouble for defending myself, especially since she was significantly older than me. Unfortunately, I have experienced disturbing nightmares about the incident over the years. In some of these dreams, I am back in that same restroom, and various terrible scenarios occur. In one of my nightmares, she physically assaulted and sexually abused me. It's challenging to discuss this part of the experience, but even now, I still occasionally have reminders of it all in my dreams, or more accurately, my nightmares.